Morning, everyone. Welcome to the General Committee meeting. We're going to get underway now. I do have one announcement. This morning, Mayor Alcock is not feeling well under the weather, so she won't be attending. Councillor Stone is still enjoying the sunshine in the south, and I believe Councillor Renwick's on her way. So with that, we're going to move on to item 2, which is Councillor Cloutier. He's going to read the land acknowledgement statement.
Through you, Chair. I would like to respectfully acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabeg under the terms of the Robinson-Huron Treaty number 61 of 1850 and the Williams Treaty of 1923. We commit to acknowledge, learn, educate, create opportunity, honor sacred places, and take actions toward real truth and reconciliation in support of our commitment to walking the path together in respect, peace, and harmony for future generations.
Midwood, thank you. We're going to move on to item 3, which is the adoption of the agenda. I got it moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Morrison. It's recommended that the General Committee meeting agenda dated Wednesday, January 31st, 2024 be adopted as printed and circulated. All those in favor? And that carries. Item 4, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest today? Not seeing any. So we're moving right along to 5.1, and we have Adrian Mustards here from the Rotary Club. He's going to come down and give us a deputation. I see you're here for 2 deputations. So you'll see a clock come up on the screen there. Each one's worth, you get 10 minutes. So, all right, we appreciate that.
Thanks very much, Scotty. All right, I'm here on behalf of Rotary, and thank you very much, on 2 separate but related presentations. The first I titled Rotary Garden at Avery Beach Pavilion. This is a continuation of a project that was started in 2020. Oh, there's the picture of the pavilion and the bench in front of it. We undertook in 2020 what we called the Hunters Bay Trail Rejuvenation Project by Rotary. It was Rotary's 20th anniversary of being involved with Hunters Bay Trail, and the work we had done was looking pretty tired. The pavilion needed a new coat of paint, new trim work. We ended up putting a steel roof on it, so we were very pleased with that. We also put some feature gardens in there at Orchard Park. We helped with a little bit of the trail maintenance, and we partnered with the town to put in, as you can see, these brand new benches here. We did all that. You can see from the pictures that the result was turned out very well, and it was very well received by the public. The benches, as you noticed, are handicap accessible, and that was greatly appreciated as well. That was the efforts and advice for Debbie Kerwin. We wanted to continue with our work on the trail, but we were asked by the town to stop because there was a waterfront development study at the time, and so we just put everything on hold and said, okay, that's great. So what we're asking for this time is, could we please continue with our garden? It would be to the right of the pavilion. It's an area of about 45 by 60 feet. We would put some natural feature rocks in there, vegetation that's colorful, pollinator friendly, drought resistant, deer resistant, sort of natural vegetation, and it would be placed under the birch trees and the big spruce tree there, so it would be shade friendly as well. We're not asking for any money. We're going to make sure that it's maintenance friendly so the staff doesn't have to do any extra work. Rotary has budgeted $10,000 for the project and an annual $1,000 maintenance budget for mulching and replacing any plants that might have a problem. So hopefully the town looks favorably on that. So basically the request is, can we proceed with putting a Rotary Gardens next to the pavilion? And I'll take any questions that anybody might have.
Yeah, thanks very much. Do we have any questions around the table? Nope. Councillor Cloutier.
Through you, Chair. I'd just like to thank you guys. The area down there needs some sprucing up, and for coming to do it for free for us, we appreciate that.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Monty.
Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Armour. Just thanks for your presentation. It sounds like a solid project. Are the benches fixed to the ground or are they removable?
Yeah, the benches are my next request, but the benches are permanently installed with 5 foot. Steve made me go 5 feet, concrete on the bottom, is solidly placed into the ground, pressure treated, 20 years, 30 years, we should be good.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, they're not going to get stolen.
I don't see any other questions, so that's good. Do you want to move on to the next
Sure.
deputation?
This is very closely related. When we did the Hunters Bay Rejuvenation Project, we funded it by sponsoring the benches. So individuals sponsored the benches. That provided us with enough money to put the steel roof on and everything else. We had such an amazing positive response that we had 31 people come forward to sponsor benches, and we only had permission to replace the benches and then put a few more on the Hunters Bay Trail. So we asked the town at that point, can we put them on Ferry Vista Trail? Ferry Vista Trail, is, I don't know if anybody knows, is the trail that goes north of Highway 60 from I guess it's the sewage treatment plant right out to Deerhurst Road there. It's a beautiful trail in through the woods back there. At the time they said, sure, sure, sure. And then somebody picked up the fact that this isn't trail maintenance, this is trail improvement. So that's why I'm here today to ask, can we place 8 of those beautiful benches on Ferry Vista Trail? The request again is very simple. We will place the benches in such a way that they don't cause any increased maintenance work for the town. The benches have been purchased. We have the material. It's been pre-cut. We have it. We've got the arms. We've got everything ready to go. It's just, do we have permission from this group to proceed with that project? I think it would be a tremendous enhancement for that trail.
Excellent. Thanks very much. Do we have any questions?
Again, any questions? Yes, please.
I don't see any questions.
Yeah, the pictures for the benches. Do you have a picture of the bench there? Okay. All right, beautiful. Again, thank you.
I have a question. Do we need any direction from staff on this to work with the Rotary Club? Or can we just assume that they will do their?
We will discuss this motion in advance.
Perfect.
Yeah, if it's any help at all in that regard, we partnered with the town last time. We have our own insurance. We have to work with the town, to have your permission to do that, but we work under our insurance, and we worked with Colleen McDonald and Steve Hernan on the project on Hunters Bay Trail. It worked out very, very well. Well, thank you for that. So there you can see a picture of those beautiful benches.
And they look great.
Yeah, they turned out very
Do
well.
you have any questions for anybody? Not seeing anybody. As you know, we'll deal with this later on in the agenda, but.
Well, thank you very much for
Thanks very much for
making
coming.
the presentation. Look forward to working with you in the future. Was I 10 minutes or less? That was good. Okay.
So with that, we're going to move on to 6.1. We have Ben Jardine here from Muskoka Community Land Trust, the Florence Street Micro Community Update. Welcome, Ben.
Sorry.
I don't think you need any introduction. I believe everybody here knows you.
Good morning, Deputy Mayor Armour, council, staff. Thank you for having me back. Muskoka Land Trust was last here in October with a presentation to council and a specific ask at that time that council approve staff to work with us on advancing our Florence Street Micro Community Initiative. So today in presentation, I don't have a specific ask of council. This is simply a courtesy progress update of the work that we've been doing, the advancement that staff has been helping us with, and to show you some improvements that we've made to our plan. First, some standard business of the Muskoka Community Land Trust. We have started a community engagement plan, soft launch, if you will, to start, but it's been going very well. We have fostered some tremendous relationships with the town, with staff, with District of Muskoka, and varying levels of government. So the response has been tremendous so far. I continue to be impressed with the commitment and the strength of our board and our committee members. We've recruited a number of new members, both to our committees and to our board. And what a passion that we all have. So tremendous there as well. We have strategy partners, Launch and Prosper. They've been with us for quite some time, but a very strong group, and we're really thankful for their commitments, particularly in financially modeling both the capital and the operating aspects of the community that we're proposing. And then most recently, engagement with local service groups, community groups, local businesses. Again, response has been tremendous, so thank you. With the community engagement that we've started, we have received some feedback, certainly from town and district staff, but also from community members at large. And so that's really prompted some of the changes changes and improvements that we've made to our plan, and I'm excited to introduce those to you. Most notably, we've moved away from a focus on resale model to primarily long-term rental units, sustainably affordable forever. With the changes and improvements that we've made, we have the potential to increase density by up to 60%. And of course, then the financial viability of the project, again, both capital and operating, is tremendous. So much so that CMHC has assigned us a special advisor to help advance the project, and that advisor is pressuring us, which is not typical of CMHC. And then lastly, we have been collaborating with local businesses and community groups for potential head leases, and again, tremendous interest. So without further ado, here is the updated plan, site plan that we're bringing forward today. I'll introduce all of the parts in just a moment, but wanted to first mention that this plan is important because it shows in red the property outline overlaid on a Town of Huntsville topographic map. And I'll come back to that in future, but it really is vital to the design aspects that we've brought forward. So in no particular order, the southwest corner or bottom left of the screen, we show 3 blue rectangles. Those are proposed as 36 unit apartment buildings, 3 stories, 12 units per floor, approximately a mix of 1 and 2 bedroom apartment units. Just to the north of that in purple, we show a future phase, which could be single family homes, likely with walkout basements, suitable for secondary suites, such as aging in place or young families. To the east, we have the orange stacked townhouses. These are 4 units per building, essentially a medium-sized house. And then just to the northeast of that, in yellow, we show one of our partner developments, the great 6-plex buildings, designed to in excess of passive house standards, and this is a cooperative model. Moving to the next screen, this is a Google Earth overlay showing the existing conditions of the land and the proposed structures. On the right-hand side of the screen, some of the design improvements that we've factored in, again, largely based on the feedback that we've received. So in no particular order, the starting basis of this design was the existing roadway on the property. That's, I believe it's referred to as Abraham Road. And this new design reuses that road. We're not creating a new main thoroughfare. That's important to certainly to the MCLT because the infrastructure is existing. We have engaged with the district about tapping into and using the existing services under that road, to which they're supportive. It certainly is beneficial to the town of Huntsville because of facilities that exist along that road already, and it's important to the surrounding neighbors because it's infrastructure that's been there for a long, long time. In keeping with our previous plan, the old cistern area just to the north of the screen, that remains as open space for the community's benefit. And you can see in the center of the screen, there's a red rectangle on a bit of an angle. This represents the location of the town's existing public works tower. And different from the last plan, we're designing around this. This tower we know is needing to stay. And so instead of treating it as a compromise or a concession. We're simply working around it and using it. So we have aligned many of our amenities, our storage facilities, our outdoor spaces. The green boxes just to the north of that represent community gardens and potential greenhouses. So we're using the existing infrastructure and tying our community amenities around it. So the reason for the last slide, showing the topography, really demonstrates the reason for laying out buildings here. Wherever possible, we have oriented buildings and we place buildings to match the topography of the existing land. So we're not intending to come in and to manipulate the land. There should be no significant amount of rock blasting or major tree clearing that we have seen on other developments in town. So similarly, we've placed buildings such that they're with most respect to the immediate neighbors, to sight lines, to sensitive areas, to slopes. And so again, highlighting the multi-residential buildings, the apartment buildings on the southwest of the screen, they're intentionally placed in that location because they're away from the slope edge, they're away from sight lines of town, and they're in a spot on the property where there are no immediately affected residential neighbors. Similarly, to the north of that, the single-family homes, again, set into the topography. These are single-story dwellings, again, future phase, so this could, of course, change in time, but single-family dwellings that are just simply tucked into the land as it exists. Again, on the east side of the screen, then the stacked townhouses, again, medium-sized houses, 4 units each, very residential looking. They're placed there because of the surrounding existing residential neighbors, so in respect of them. And just like topography, these buildings are located in such a way to minimize disruption and disturbance to the existing vegetation. So again, highlighting the multi-res buildings, they're placed in that location because that's the area that is flattest on the site. That's the area that has the least dense existing forest. Yes, we will need to clear some trees, but we're trying to do it in the most respectful manner possible. Although this slide doesn't show the technical manners that we've designed into this plan, they do exist. So certainly stormwater management is a big factor. There's lots of potential for storm sewers or ditching and swaling to control all rainwater and snow melt within our property. Servicing is a big one, and we're really thankful for the support of the District of Muskoka in this regard. And the plan is to tap into and utilize existing services under Abraham Road. Our portion of expansion is quite minimal, just simply coming off of those existing pipes to the dwellings as needed. Fire access routes, snow clearing, snow storage, landscaping, again, all focused around the existing topography and the existing vegetation. This next slide shows what could be a concept of the accessible connective trails and pathways promoting the town's active transportation initiative. Our goal here is to really make an inclusive micro-community where everyone is welcome and everyone has access to all of the amenities. And so what better way to do that than via accessible landscape pathways that connect the entire property to itself. Our hope is that any one of our residents could leave their home and go for a 30, 45-minute walk on this property. And lastly, this plan, which I think is quite important to council, this plan has been crafted in such a way that as MCLT moves through phases, and again, I'll highlight the multi-res buildings in blue, they're crafted in such a way that if town allows us to proceed with this development and something happens where maybe we don't hit the mark, the land at large is not disrupted. That portion can be dealt with, but the town can reclaim the majority of the land. It's still usable, it's still valuable. So our plan is to build and develop in such a way, to phase in such a way that we're able to demonstrate the strength, the stability, and the respect of the overall master plan. This is a quick timeline showing our time and showing our next steps that we're pursuing. Right now, end of January, we're hoping to finalize our program within the next short while and work towards an application for a community planning permit with town and district staff sometime in the next 4 to 6 months. Of course, we have a tremendous amount of technical engineering and design work to do prior to that, but we're certainly motivated. Following that, we would move to building design and building permit application in the 2 to 3 months that follow, with a goal of beginning site development works and building works in late 2024, early 2025. That's if everything goes according to plan. And then just in summary of our Florence Street initiative at large, 7.5 acres, according to CPP, it could be suitable for up to 180 units, and we're showing the potential for 179 affordable housing units. Again, perpetually affordable, primarily long-term rentals. The intention is to have a mix of 1, 2, and some 3-bedroom units, and our rental target market is based on CMHC's standard for affordable housing, which is lower than town and district standard. And so when we say a mix of affordable and below market and average market rents, these are all two standards that CMHC has tabled, again, lower than actual. It's our hope that we can cultivate a very diverse community, a mix of service groups, of local businesses, varying levels of involvement, and we're very excited. Everyone is motivated, and the community feedback so far has been tremendous. So thank you.
A couple of key words there. Affordable, fabulous. That's great. Do we have any questions from the committee? Councillor Morrison.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Armour, and to Ben and your team. I mean, I think we would all say the same thing about how thankful we are. There's nothing more needed in this town right now than what you guys are bringing. And I mean, on Monday, we had one of your colleagues, Bradley, here donating a bus shelter for us. So your company is contributing in a lot of ways to our town. My question is, I wonder, what is the smallest unit? I know we're in need of small units, bachelor pads, things like that. Is there a call for some bachelor units?
Thank you, Councillor Morrison. There absolutely can be. The smallest unit that we've designed right now, and again, this is, the building designs are conceptual so far, is a 1-bedroom unit in and around 400 square feet. The reality for us is it costs the same to build a 1-bedroom unit as it does a bachelor unit. And so 1-bedroom units are more comfortable. If our design allows for them, that's what we're going to promote. Thank you.
Excellent. Does anyone else have any questions? I have one. Abraham Road, does it run right through down? Is it like along the one picture you're showing? It looks like the road runs all the way through and connects to the other end.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Armour. No, my understanding is that it doesn't, that it currently runs from Florence Street to the district's pumping station. It doesn't connect to Frederick Street.
Thanks for that. Not seeing any more questions? Thanks, Ben. Great
Thank you very
presentation as
much.
usual, and we're really looking forward to this.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to number 7, which is reports from committee meetings, and 7.1 is the Active Transportation and Public Transit Committee meeting, January the 8th, 2024. Councillor Stone's not here. There's Councillor Renwick's going to give us an update.
Thank you, Dan Armour. My apologies for being late this morning. I won't even go there, but I thought it was 1 o'clock today. But so I'm glad I'm here to give this report. So you'll read in the report that there is a motion asking staff to review the hydro corridors that could potentially be used for active transportation. So I'm not sure where we would go with that at this point, other than staff. I guess when it comes back to council. do we?
In the minutes, and then staff will.
So that'll be passed in the minutes and then staff will go through that.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks.
That's it. That's the only highlight at this point.
Excellent, thanks very much. Do we have any questions? Not seen any. Next report is 7.2, it's the environmental, oh, sorry, gotta read the motion. So moved by Councillor Fitzgerald, seconded by Councillor Renwick. It's recommended that the Active Transportation and Public Transit Committee meeting dated January 8th, 2024 be adopted as printed and circulated. All those in favor? And that carries. Now we'll move on to 7.2, which is the Environmental and Climate Change Committee. That was December the 5th, 2023 and January the 9th, 2024. Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Armour. Yeah, as noted in the minutes, we have been discussing quite a few items, and I think just honing in on communication with the public about simple things, you know, salt use, idling, and we've had a lot of discussions about EV charging stations and the requirements and where we're going to go with them and how many we need. So lots of information that requires a lot of more information gathering for us to make recommendations to this committee. So that's really about it. Of note, the district approved $1 million transfer to a climate change reserve fund, which I think most of you are aware of, but that's pretty exciting. So we'll be able to utilize some of those funds for our efforts in climate change. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Does anybody have any questions of Councillor Fitzgerald? Not seeing any. I do have a motion moved by Councillor Schumacher, seconded by Councillor Morrison. It's recommended that the Environmental and Climate Change Committee meetings dated December the 5th, 2023 and January the 9th, 2024 be adopted as printed and circulated. All those in favor? And that carries. And our next one is 7.3. It's Community Services Master Plan Waterfront Strategy, and that's Councillor Morrison.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Armour, and through you. Yeah, it's crazy. We've got our last meeting coming up. I don't know where that year went, but it's been a real pleasure. My co-chair, Councillor Cloutier, and I, we've had a really good year, and we've had really good team members. So much so that some of them want to continue on with a bit of an implementation subcommittee after the fact to make sure some of the stuff we have brought up by working through our senior leadership team, that it stays on the agenda and stays front of mind. So we have our last meeting coming up where we finalize our implementation plan, and really that's about it. And nothing too serious to report other than the stuff that we've already put forward.
Excellent. Do we have any questions of Councillor Morrison? Not seeing any. We do have a motion. It's moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. It is recommended that the Community Service Master Plan Waterfront Strategy Committee meetings dated December the 6th, 2023 and January the 11th, 2024 be adopted as printed and circulated. All in favor? And that carries. And now I get to relieve the chair. We're going to divisional reports and community services, and Councillor Schumacher will take over.
Thank you, Chair Armour. So I am on to 8.1, Community Services. And thank you to the work of the Community Services Master Plan Committee to give us our marching orders here at Community Services, for sure. So my first report is 8.1.1, and I have Jacqueline Surratt and Rob Hubick coming down to present. Before I read my motion, though, I want to take a bit of time to say thank you to Robert. And I did have another little report of stuff to say. Here we go. So, Rob leaves us on February 3rd as Jillian Jordan is returning from her mat leave. So I did want to take some time to thank you. In the short time you've been here, Robert, you've been instrumental in revamping the museum gift shop, helping staff and volunteers navigate the interesting world that is the Muskoka Heritage Place. I understand you've created some interesting events like the Father's Day train ride, which we're hoping to maybe continue. And I know Councillor Renwick was very happy to see the Thanksgiving art walk in partnership with the Huntsville Art Society, and hopefully those types of events will continue to showcase Muskoka Heritage Place, and we do thank you for your contributions to that and getting that going. And apparently there was an escape of Levi the pig at some point that you had to help wrangle him. He apparently was supposed to be picked up from the owner, and maybe he just wanted to stay with us there at Muskoka Heritage Place. So, yeah, yes. So thank you for the wild and wonderful year that you've been with us here at Muskoka Heritage Place. Robert, you will be missed. Thank you. Okay.
These are new.
Yes, these are
I
new.
feel like these are
Jacqueline.
new. Like, wow, how do I even turn
You
these
don't have to
on?
pull it so close to you either.
No, and I
Really, it's fine.
apologize. I am not feeling well, so which is great because Robert's here to present the report anyway. So it's my
Okay.
pleasure.
Well, I'm
to
going to
turn
read
this
the
over.
motion first,
Yeah.
and then you guys can speak to it. So it is report number CS 2024-1, the Muskoka Heritage Place bequest. And I have it moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. Whereas the Muskoka Heritage Place was bequeathed the amount of $162,962 from the estate of Catherine Ann Hartley. The town's donation and whereas the town's donation and taxable receipts policy allow for the creation of a reserve with the approval of council, and now therefore it is recommended that staff be directed to establish a Muskoka Heritage Place / Hartley or - Hartley bequest reserve for the bequeath from the estate of Catherine Ann Hartley, and further that any funds received as a result of the estate be directed to this reserve, and further that staff be directed to report back to committee with recommendations to allocate the funds to projects that advance Muskoka Heritage Place's mission and mandate, and further that the Muskoka Heritage Place - Hartley bequest reserve be terminated once all funds have been spent. And that is it, I believe. So you guys are here to speak to it. Thanks, Robert.
Perfect, thanks. Thank you, Chair Schumacher. Thank you so much for allowing me to come today. This is my first presentation to council and my last. I have one more after this one, but my second last. But it has been a great pleasure to work with the MHP, and I'm really going to miss it. But I know Jillian will do a really, really wonderful job. You have a great manager on your hands there. I've been working with her the last couple of days, getting her caught up in the past year, and she's already got ideas, and I think you'll be very impressed with the things that she's going to do, and I hope you guys will support her in every way in that. So, yes, we did lose 2 pigs. The last day, they had such a great time in MHP, and I think they knew they were being picked up that day, and all of a sudden, the person, Kathleen, wasn't. We were having a little year-end party, I guess you would call it, potluck, and all of a sudden she left, and we found out later that she was chasing pigs through the MHP, so trying to catch them. So, but it was quite the year. So, as you mentioned about the bequest, just want to mention a couple of things. We don't know a lot about Ms. Hartley. In her will, she specifically said that she didn't want an obituary written about her, and that even her grave be unmarked as well too. So she seemed like a very quiet person. What we do know is that she worked in childcare and as a children's entertainer after graduating from high school. While she was doing that, she developed a great interest in genealogy, and because of it, she returned to school and completed her master's degree in history. She worked as a school teacher, and then as a librarian, and then as an archivist for the Greater Toronto Area Philatelic Alliance and the Toronto Stamp Collectors Club before she retired. Based on her career and the fact that she listed organizations like the Gilweg School in the United Kingdom, because she was from Scotland, Sleeping Children Around the World, Toronto Public Library, Toronto Archives, Town of York Historical Society, Kids Cell Phone, and Smile Company Theatrical Production, and of course, Muskoka Heritage Place Inner Will. We can come to a conclusion that she wanted to give back to organizations that worked with children and organizations in the arts and culture world. And in our case, we do both. With that, I'm here to answer any questions that you may have about this. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Robert? Deputy Mayor Armour.
Thanks very much, through you, Chair. I'm just curious, do you have a game plan yet with this money, or do you just sort of going to sit back and think about it for a while?
Through you, Chair Schumacher, I think we got some ideas. There has been some things in the plans for the last couple of years I think would be a really good opportunity. We have some capital projects that need to get completed, and we're finding that the quotes are coming in a little higher than what was approved. So I think they can offset those as well too. But I think just improving in my opinion, again, this is just my personal opinion, but I think just improving the grounds a little bit more, and a lot of that can be helped with grants as well to offset some of the costs. We do have a steam engine, number one, that needs a new boiler, which is quite pricey. But again, that can be offset with grants as well too. So it could be used to subsidize larger projects within MHP as well. So nothing specific at this time, but I know that Jillian's got some really good ideas. A heritage garden would be a really good asset. Redeveloping the basement of the barn to make it more comfortable, and to opportunity to sell more food and beverage items, maybe even beer and wine and things like that, right? So to entice more maybe rentals. So one thing could lead to another to generate more revenue and that. So, but Jillian does have a few ideas up her sleeve, so which she'll talk to you about later about.
Yes, follow up.
Thanks very much. There we go. So do we have any plans on doing some type of recognition for her at the Heritage Place, like a plaque or something, or is that not, she doesn't want anything like that?
Through you, Chair Schumacher, we haven't talked about that, but I think a press release would be really great, in my opinion, and I think a plaque would be good. I think even though she was a very quiet woman, from what we could tell, I mean, she won't yell at us, so if we do put a plaque up. Yeah, I think that's be a really good idea to do something that, and especially if it's a project that's maybe the Heritage Garden is dedicated to her, if that's where we go. So I think that'd be a really good idea. Thank you for that.
Through you, Madam Chair, I was just going to add to that ensuring that the reserve is in her name as we do decide, what types of projects or what project we do in her name, we can look at a plaque that would honor that.
Perfect. So yeah, if something specific is done, maybe we put a plaque on that particular part of the location or whatever that we revamp because of that money. Okay, any other questions? Then I will call the question. All in favor? And that motion is carried. Perfect. So you two are still on the hot seat, but this one is just for information only. It's 8.1.2, and it is report number CS 2024-2, the Muskoka Heritage Place 2023 annual report.
Thank you, Chair Schumacher. Yes, this report is basically a requirement for funding, and also gives us an opportunity to brag about the work we do at MHP. Just a couple of highlights from that. You probably all read it anyways, and we're pretty happy to hear that this past year we had the highest visitation in the history of MHP, which was an increase of 22% over last year. We increased our gift shop sales by almost triple, and there's a huge more opportunity there to even do more of that. And we will increase our overall revenues by 28% from last year. This was due not only from myself, but from all the hard work and dedication of the staff that we work with, and as well as marketing. Marketing did a really good job of really promoting us this past year, and a big round of applause should really go out to them. So if you have any other questions about the report, I can answer them.
Any questions for Robert with the report? Councillor Renwick and then Morrison.
Thank you, Chair Schumacher, and thank you so much for the report, and congratulations and kudos to both of you for the work that you've done. I guess my question, and this may have come out in previous reports, but the fact that Eclipse Light Show was there, do you think that may have contributed to some of the increased visibility of Muskoka Heritage Place? And do those numbers from Eclipse actually, do they reflect in here, or are they separate numbers?
Thank you, Chair Schumacher. That's a good question. Those numbers do not reflect in this report at all. They're tracked by the Chamber of Commerce and how many people they came through. I would say that it probably had some role in that. It's hard to say. We don't really, we didn't really ask questions. How do you, some of the things we do ask is how do you hear about us? And I don't recall anything about that, but I'm sure it did create some exposure for Muskoka Heritage Place. Absolutely. I think anytime you can get any kind of events happening within the village creates exposure for us. People don't realize, some people probably don't realize what we have there, the gem that we have there. So yeah, I would say so, yes.
Were you just pointing to Helena, or do you actually have a question?
No, I was really the same question, but I was just thinking along those lines. I think a lot of it has to be attributed to the fact that you guys have been very active in marketing and making improvements to the facility. I do think it's one of the most underappreciated facilities that we have. And for those that haven't been there, it's quite amazing. So I think the Eclipse Walk with Light did bring a lot of people there that had no idea what we had. So my question is, I wonder, and maybe Jillian has some things up her sleeve, and through Jacqueline, is there more opportunity for us to do winter events or some off-season events that would bring different eyes to MHP to grow on the momentum that you guys already have?
Yes, through you, Chair Schumacher. Yes, so actually we, this family day, we're actually going to be offering snowshoeing through the village. And then people can come back into the museum and shop in our gift shop. And yeah, and so yeah, we're trying to come up with different ideas. If we want to, it has to be right now it has to be during business hours because we have no security in the village, right? So I think that's one area that the Hartley thing could help with putting cameras and better security in there so that maybe we can leave the village open, even after hours. I don't know if that's possible or not. That's something we'd have to look into. But yeah, I think that we've talked about it over the last year, and I'm sure Jillian has in the past year as well. So we just have to figure out what's capable, what's possible in there. But yeah, I think there's an opportunity there. We even looked at, so right now all the buildings are boarded up to prevent, vandalism in there. But it doesn't look that great. We've talked about, maybe working with the Indigenous people to paint murals on the covers of them so that people are wandering through the village during the off season. The village actually looks a lot more decorated than just having the buildings boarded up like if they don't exist or that nobody lives in anymore, right? So there's some things that need to be worked on there, and but yeah, there's definitely been some top of mind, definitely.
Any other questions? Deputy Mayor Arm.
Thank you very, Chair Schumacher. Just a quick one. With the increase in visitation, I know we were struggling with volunteers before. Have you seen an increase in people wanting to come out and volunteer? I noticed earlier talking to the Rotary Club, they're having issues with theirs. So.
Yes, to you, Chair Schumacher. We're okay for volunteers. I mean, we could always use more. I think where we struggle a little bit more is volunteers for conductors through the Lakewood Bays Railway Society. They provide most of the volunteers for that. But I think we need to, look at more, high school kids to help volunteer in different areas, right? So, we have a co-op student that helps us in a collection twice a year, which helps alleviate some of the backlog that we have in there. But I think, yeah, I mean, we're not hurting by any means, but we could always use more, and there needs to be a push more to get to see if we can get more volunteers out to help out with, especially when the train is running, is what we're finding. So.
Thank you. Any other Questions, comments? No? Okay. Just my last questions or just my last comments is thank you very much to you and your team. The report definitely outlines the increased sales and the visitorship that was significant for last year. So much appreciated. I think it might have been our previous council that there had been the award for a small museum that we have won as well too. So I think some of those things have also helped us highlight the great things that are the Muskoka Heritage Place. So looking forward to, and as to Councillor Morrison's question about other activities like the snowshoeing, I know they did. And when Eclipse was in, there was things like the goats or the, sleigh rides through. There's probably still ability to partner with some of those, even if it isn't the chamber for the particular light aspect. Maybe there's an opportunity to partner with some of those outside businesses, Algonquin outfitters to come in and do snowshoe, camps and that kind of thing. So I think there's plenty of opportunity for growth there. And to your point about volunteerism, I just want to say this past Christmas train was the first time I volunteered and helped out with the day. I've always gone and attended. It's been a great event to just go and be on the train, but to actually volunteer that day and help out, so many smiles on faces of kids and just the excitement that even couples were there to enjoy that magical experience. And if any one of you want to come out and volunteer even on that day, it's a great, great opportunity to showcase that train ride and the experience. So
Thank you so much.
again.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
It is.
Yes,
And-
yeah, the magicated train.
Just, and
Yes.
just one comment to that. Sorry, I
Yep.
hope there's no kids watching, but Santa and Mrs. Claus have retired. So if you know of any new Santa and Mrs. Claus, we could use them for next winter, Christmas.
Yes, 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 the retirement. Thank you very much, guys. Yes. Okay, on to 8.1.3, and we're going to have Greg Pilling come down for report number CS 2024-3, Muscle Project Phase 1 Indoor CSC Update. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Renwick and seconded by Councillor Morrison, whereas the resolution CSWP 8-23 adopted by the Community Services Waterfront Master Plan Committee requested staff work with Rich Trenholm on the installation of a permanent indoor fitness structure in the Canada Summit Centre Phase 1 and report to General Committee. And whereas due to the factors as outlined in report CS 20-2024-3, staff are not recommending Phase 1. Now, therefore, it is recommended that committee concurs with staff's recommendation not to proceed with Phase 1, and further that staff be directed to work with Rich Trenholm and the Muscle Group on Phase 2 for the outdoor fitness parks located on 2 town properties and report back to committee. And Greg is here to speak to the report.
Thank you. Good morning, and through you, Chair Schumacher. Overall, the project is possible, but from a risk management perspective, ideally, this needs to be in a controlled environment with staff supervision at all times. From a safety perspective, just having equipment out and about in the public without having control over it. So from a risk management perspective, we're not recommending moving forward with that without it being in a supervised gym setting.
Thank you for that. Are there questions of Greg? No? No? Okay. Seeing none, then I will call the question. All in favor? And that carries. And Greg is still here for the next one. papers were a little mixed up here. So 8.1.4, report CS 2024-5, year-round ice at the Canada Summit Center follow-up. And I have a resolution. Oh, I need a seconder. Okay, well, Helena's moving it, so I need a seconder to put it on the table. I have Councillor Morrison. So, moved by Councillor Renwick, seconded by Councillor Morrison. I'll write it in there for you, Jessica. Okay. Whereas resolution, oh no, that was the other one. Why is that double? Here we go. That's why I had 2 copies of that motion. There we go. Okay, little too many papers. Now we're on to the right one. So it is moved by Councillor Cloutier and seconded by Councillor Morrison, whereas resolution GC 139-23 directed staff to include all costs in the 2024 budget to support an extended ice season on the Don Low Arena, respecting any existing contractual obligations from the end of the hockey season up to the end of the lacrosse tournament in June of 2024, where the ice will be reinstated. Consult with Huntsville District Minor Lacrosse Association, HDMLA, tournament dates for June of 2024, and approach the Huntsville Municipal Accommodation Tax Association, HMATA, to assist with funding for an ice floor covering. Staff be directed to report back to General Committee regarding the consultations, HMATA response, and the capital costs and options associated with the purchase of the ice floor covering for the Don Low Arena. And whereas HDMLA has provided their 2024 tournament dates of July 12th to 14th, 2024, and whereas per council direction, the 2024 consolidated budget supports the installation of ice on the Don Low in mid-June of 2024. And whereas staff consulted with HMATA regarding funding for an ice floor covering and are awaiting a response, now therefore it is recommended that General Committee selects option, and there's a fill in the blank, as outlined in report CS 2024-5. There is a second page. And further that staff to report back on the decision from HMATA regarding the ice floor covering. Greg.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Schumacher, my apologies for the long recommendation. This is strictly just a follow-up right now for the lacrosse tournament dates. I have approached HMATA, and I'll be meeting with them in the near future, and we'll be bringing back a report on the ice floor covering shortly, hopefully in February. And I'm here for any questions.
Any questions for Greg? Go ahead. Councillor Morrison first.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Schumacher, and through you. I think this is a perfect example of finding some balance for various needs in our community. We made it clear, the compromise we come up with around the table last time was in some conversations with the Lacrosse Association, recognizing how much work they do and how important lacrosse is to our town. We also looked at the importance of utilizing town-owned facilities and taxpayer-funded facilities. So the compromise we come up with, I think, was fair. And we've given staff direction to have the ice in by mid-June, late June at the latest. From that motion, I don't think a July tournament was really an option. You know, I think the tournament options were June. It was directed to work with them to only put in the ice after the June tournament. Unfortunately, a July date was put forward and it was selected by OLA, which puts us in a bit of a situation. So again, looking to find balance. My belief is that we need to protect the lacrosse development program. I think that's crucial to them growing their league, and we would love to see it grow so big that it increases in numbers. But we can't, based on the last budget process that we just went through and the amount of conversations I'm having with taxpayers, we have to find a balance for the taxpayer. And having a $23 million taxpayer-funded facility sit empty for a month, waiting for a 3-day tournament, I don't think is really what the taxpayers want. But at the same token, I respect lacrosse, and we've got to do something to help them. So I think we still need to move forward with having the ice put in as per our direction. but maybe in conjunction with HDMLA, making sure they still get to run their development program effectively, and that we work with them to find alternatives, because I have talked to one of the board members the last few days. They've almost sold out their tournament, which is great, right? Great for the town, great for lacrosse. And knowing from the Sting Association how much these tournaments help subsidize registration fees for the kids, I think it's very important that we do our best to help lacrosse get that tournament going. I've been in touch with Mayor Glover in Lake of Bays. There's a huge appetite to work with us to get the Baysville rink sanctioned, which would take netting and some various other things to make it a sanctioned. We can't just put lacrosse in there without it being a sanctioned floor. I do know there's a huge appetite from Lake of Bays to work with us. And I think I would like to direct staff to work with HDMLA and the Township of Lake of Bays to try to make this tournament as successful as possible so that they can still do, I think it's 32 teams. Because I think if we move forward with the motion as we've directed, which I think we should, there won't be a floor available in the Don Lock in July. So that's just my thoughts, and happy to chat more about it.
Thank you, Councillor Morrison. Any other comments? Councillor Cloutier.
Through you, Chair. I'd just like to tell everybody the amount of work that staff has put into this request that's come from myself and council. They've worked tirelessly on it. It's been a lot of hours put into it. We did pass the motion at the time of putting the ice in the end of June for basically the 1st of July after their program was done for this year, and then next year it's supposed to be in all year anyways. We can work with the Lake of Bays to get in Baysville. Recently there was a 68 team tournament go on here with girls hockey. They utilized the facilities in Huntsville, Berks Falls, and Baysville. So I don't think it's out of the question for people to travel. I mean, most people with their kids in tournaments, we've all done it. We've all gone to places and had to travel half hour each way or whatever from where we stayed. And I think with that going forth, the option one, I think was voted and passed on the last time. I think that's the option that we have to take and have to move in that direction so that staff can market the ice and get it sold.
Any other questions, Deputy Mayor?
Thanks, Chair Schumacher. I might have missed it. Did we know how many teams are actually coming for the, is it 20 teams, 24 teams, or does anybody know that answer?
Apparently Councillor Morrison might.
Yeah, I had a conversation with a board member. They, a sellout, I believe, is around 32 teams, 4 divisions times 8 teams. And they are right now only 2 away from selling out. So it'll be 32 teams. So I think, again, I think to Councilor Cloutier's point, we said mid-June, but I really want to work with Lacrosse Association on their development program to get the kids playing. More kids playing is great for all of us. So the dates, I think, should be in conjunction with consultation between Greg Pilling and the association. And then looking at our staff, working with them to see how many hours can be pushed onto the Jack. So it's minimal hours going to Baysville. So with 32 teams, can you start a bit early? Can you just make sure the Jack is used most? And then Baysville, it's 15 minutes down the road. Maybe the older age groups go to Baysville. That's something for the association to work with you. But with a lot of conversation and consultation, I think it could be very positive. But 32 teams is the number, and they're 2 away from selling out.
Any other questions, comments for Greg? Yeah. Councillor Renwick?
Thank you, Chair Schumacher. And through you, and I guess it's more of a comment to what Councillor Morrison said, that I agree that we should work in conjunction with them. So are we saying that the tournament would not happen on the Don, on the Don if the Jack is open? There's ice, or there's no ice on there, so they could run their tournament in July on the Jack Beyonda and in conjunction with Baysville. We haven't gone back to Lacrosse to confirm that, have we? That's what you're suggesting, that we go back and, okay. I just want to be clear on that. And you have not had any discussions with them in that regard at this point?
No, through you, Chair Schumacher, we have not yet.
Okay.
We're waiting for the decision made today.
Correct. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, follow-ups, comments? Councillor Mayor, or Deputy Mayor Armour?
Not so much a comment. I just want to remind everybody with these new mics, if we get too close to them, there is an echo in the room. So, and I think it affects the public that's probably watching. So if we can just remember to sit back, relax, and it picks up a lot of noise or picks up a lot of voice.
So we won't get the text messages from people saying, we can't hear you. Yes, okay. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Chair Schumacher. Thanks for the report, Greg. I didn't support option 1 originally, so I won't be supporting it this time either.
Thank you for that. So I guess, yeah, anyone? Bueller, Mayor, Deputy Mayor?
Thanks. Just a quick question. Do we need anything in the current motion that directs staff to work with lacrosse group?
I was going to ask the
And
same
report-
thing of
maybe
Jessica, but
maybe
she
report
seems
back
to be.
to us so it's not
yeah.
left in limbo.
Thank you, Chair Schumacher. So we do have a blank in the motion, and I believe what I've heard Councillor Morrison put forward an amendment for option 1. And if so, I can bring that up on the screen.
That would be great. Thanks, Jessica.
So the motion reads all the same, and the amendment is in the second last paragraph.
Staff have consulted with third last? Council direct the 2024.
There's one more paragraph on the next page, though.
Oh, okay. I don't see it. Oh, the report back on the decision from H matter regarding the floor covering. Oh.
Yeah.
General committee selects option 1. Okay, but that's not the amendment to direct staff to work with, is it?
No, sorry, I didn't hear that amendment.
Okay. Yeah, so the amendment, or we're looking at option 1, but I believe the conversation on the floor is to work with the lacrosse association, because we're going ahead with ice mid-June. So then it takes the 10 days. Furthest out is probably by June 28th, we will have ice in the arena, if I'm doing my math correct, kind of thing. And it's looking like they can't turn around right now and say, we're going to make our tournament the first or second weekend of June. We went with that information because the past 2 years, that's been their dates, were June. So this is the decision, and I'm in, but to Councillor Morrison's point, how do we still make this work? Because lacrosse is a big component of this community. How do we work with other areas to, again, still have 2 facilities that they may need to get this? I mean, I guess Baysville isn't our purview, but how do we work with this association so that we still can build this? I mean, I have a father whose picture is in the Hall of Fame for lacrosse, you know, playing with Corey's dad and Councillor Thompson in the past. So it is a huge component of this community. So I guess, yeah, is that the piece that we're looking for? Councillor Morrison.
Yeah, I think the main thing, like I said, is we need to have the discussions about the development program. I think the development program typically goes till the end of school, which this year's is it the 23rd, 25th, I'm not sure. And I can lean back apparently, so you have to get used to not getting too close. But I think 2 things we need in here. We need a hard date. So it's a date, and I guess that comes down to us asking Greg how much time you need to get the ice in for July. I think July 1st would be the latest we want the ice in. So how many days before that would you have to start putting the ice in? And then talking to the Lacrosse Association about what can be done to make sure they still get their development program and we still get the ice in by July 1st. That's really, I think, the direction. So the direction about consultation is pretty easy. And then I'll ask Greg, what date do you need for the crew to get the ice in for July 1?
Through you, Chair Schumacher, it requires 10 days to get the ice ready. So as soon as we started, we only have contractual agreements at this time for gymnastics. Okay. So we could start the
I
ice.
believe in the report it said they do 2 days to clean and then 10 days to get the ice in. So if we had looked at the 15th, 16th weekend of June. If they start cleaning the 17th, 18th, and then 10 days out would be the 28th of June would be the 10 days out to have ice on that pad. I mean, gymnastics is May, so if we're not using it in the first couple weekends of June, then we probably could start earlier, but.
Yeah, the only issue is at the moment they're using the Don Lock for their development program.
Yes.
So that's something to Greg, how necessary that is. And then if you can set a date where by this date, we need the ice process to start, because our next task is staff is going to go sell the ice, right? They're going to go sell usage, and they can't really sell usage if you don't have dates. So I think the date needs to be hardwired, and if you can give us the date you need, is it July, is it June 20th? Is that the save, or is it June 22nd? That's kind of where I'm coming from. And then we put that right into the motion.
Yeah, through you, Chair Schumacher, with no lacrosse tournament in June, we won't need those cleaning days. So, you know, you could give me any date and I could strive for that, because at this point we don't have any contractual obligations at this point. They've given us their requirements, which do include the Don, but, you know, depending on what's selected today, we'll adjust as needed with the Jack Beyonda. So there's availability on the Jack Beyonda. So it would depend on.
To do their development program, they could still
It
do
would
it.
require shifting, and we work with them for that. But, you know, it kind of comes down to the decision today, and then going forward, what direction are we going? Are we leaving the ice in year round? Because that would be the same for next year then. So it's not, you know, it's a tough question. It's like, we can put the ice back in anywhere, and the only contractual obligation right now is gymnastics. So,
Follow up, Councillor
And I
Morrison?
guess to that point, if we are successful with finding an alternative floor like Batesville and getting it sanctioned, it might be a good news story all around. I mean, we know that the Batesville floor is better for lacrosse than the Don Lock. I've been told by many a lacrosse person that the Don Lock is good for development, but not good for lacrosse games, for box lacrosse. So maybe for this year, I really want to respect that development program. Ongoing years, if Batesville is a location that can work, I spent the last 7 years driving to Batesville every Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday for hockey, you know, and it doesn't bother me. So, I mean, if it's 15 minutes down the road, maybe that's the solution, you know, so that lacrosse doesn't get negatively impacted and our taxpayer gets more usage out of a facility. So I think, would it be fair to say that we start the process middle of June for this year? So say June 15th, and that's the hard date. And then moving forward, it'll be a bit of test and measure based on rentals, based on lacrosse usage. We'll have a better situation to look at for next year. Does that sound fair? So that's what I propose, June 15th to start the process.
I'm going to say June 17th because that's the Monday.
I like it. Yeah.
Okay.
And CAO Corey.
CAO Corey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I do believe we have direction on when the ice is to go in, and then operationally staff can figure out the dates back. And so I don't think it's specific that we need an actual day to start, as long as we have confirmation that council still wants to stick with the plan that they directed us to proceed with. And then we could certainly assist the Huntsville District Minor Lacrosse Association in discussions with the Batesville Arena. I too was a lacrosse mom, and it's not uncommon to go to different rinks for the competitions, so, or for the tournaments. So we'd be happy to work with them.
Great, and I mean, and I've heard rumor that Bracebridge might have their ice in their new facility by June too. So that all communities will have year-round ice, I think, going forward. So it is a good concept for all of us. And yeah, indoor space there too as possibilities for travel and stuff too. So I think it's a collaboration. I guess my thing with this is we pass this motion for, do we have to have the motion for them to work with for that July date in this? Is that what you've got in there now? And then I guess, do staff have to wait till February for us to pass this at council before they start working with them? Or can they start before that? Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. So the amended part now is to direct staff to work with the lacrosse group to coordinate use of the facility in Lake of Bays, or whatever option might be. Councilor Morrison.
I would just maybe change that wording, use of an alternate facility, because if for some reason Lake Bays doesn't work, Burks Falls, Bracebridge, there are other options.
Yeah, there
So,
are. A second facility or another facility to offset. Okay. Any questions then on the amendment? So I will call, oh wait, do I need the same mover and seconder for the amendment? Or do I need a seconder? Because I know it's Councillor Morrison that did the amendment.
Yes,
I need a
so
seconder?
Councillor Morrison and I have Councillor Cloutier
Cloutier.
seconder.
Okay, for
So
the
if you can
amendment.
call the question on
So
the
I can now
amendment.
call the question on the amendment. And so those are, oh, okay. I was going to say, and opposed? That carries. Okay, so now I will call the question, the original motion as amended. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? And one, that carries. Thank you. Okay. I don't sign that one because you're going to give me a new one. Too many papers. Thank you, Greg. Okay, do I get to, are you taking over as Development Services Chair or somebody else? Okay, so I get to throw it all back to you, Deputy Mayor Armour.
Thanks, Councillor Schumacher. We're going to move on to 8.2, which is Development Services. 8.2.1, Laura McDermott's coming down. We do have a report from her on CIP 72 Main Street Cedar Canoe Books. And I have a motion. Moved by Councillor Renwick, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. It's recommended that $5,000 be approved for the Downtown Community Improvement Grant to support the fascia improvement at 72 Main Street East. And further, that staff be directed to enter into funding agreement with the business owner at 72 Main Street East, Cedar Canoes. Floor is yours.
Okay, so through you, Chair Armour. Everyone can hear me okay? Okay,
Yep.
I'll sit back. Okay, so the staff launched the updated Community Improvement Program, which is the CIP, back in March of 2021. 72 Main Street East, which is Cedar Canoe Books, has submitted their application for the CIP grant. The work includes painting and signage on the front exterior of the building and meets the guidelines set out in the town's Downtown Community Improvement Plan, which is Schedule B for your referencing. The CIP grant review panel recommends that the requested amount of $5,000 for facade improvements based on eligibility requirements be authorized. So I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Does committee have any questions? Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Chair Armour, and more of a comment than a question, but I'm very happy to see that downtown businesses are actually taking this up as an opportunity to improve their facades. And I hope there will be more businesses that will do the same, but thank you, Lord.
Any more questions around the table? Not hearing any, I'll call the motion. All those in favor? And that carries. And you get to stay with us?
Yes.
We're moving on to 8.2.2. It's report number DEV 2024 Community Improvement Plan, CIP Grants Policy Update. And I do have a motion for that. It's moved by Councillor Schumacher, seconded by Councillor Clark. It's recommended that committee approve draft Downtown Community Improvement Plan grants bylaw attached to report DEV 2024-1, and further that the draft bylaw be forwarded to council for final approval. And yours again.
Thank you. So through you, Chair
Should
Armour.
be candy and talk.
So through you, Chair Armour, staff are recommending the approval authority be delegated to staff for future CIP applications to support the downtown businesses and property owners with approval timelines. So the previous report that we just spoke about, that was an example, and then this would help to allow us not have to go back to council or committee for approval, and it would just assist the businesses with that timelines available. So here to answer any questions you may have.
Councillor Schumacher.
Thank you, through you, Chair Armour. So if it comes to an accessibility piece, though, would you bring that back to the accessibility committee? Because we do review site plans and that kind of such to make sure it meets the mandate. Or is that just a staff decision?
So through you, Chair, if there's any elements that would require additional items of review, we can absolutely bring that forward. It's set out in the CIP guidelines for those requirements. So there's the facade improvement, there's tax incentive, there's a whole bunch of different programs that qualify. And then the review panel, which is the CIP review panel that we have in there, we would all discuss, and there's individuals from staff that are from building and planning, so we're all aware. So as we're going through, we can.
Well, and just as a follow-up, we do have a committee member who sits with building and planning to review sites plans. So they might be the person that then wouldn't have to come to the whole committee, but maybe making sure that particular person is involved when it's an accessibility.
Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Chair Armour. And through you to Lauren, I would still, I would agree with the recommendation that you don't have to come back to council every time, but I still think it would be, I would love to see what they've done. And so maybe you could report back to us if there are a number of CIP improvements to downtown businesses, that you could give us an update on what they're doing and how it looks maybe before and after, just, even though we'll probably see it downtown, but it's always nice to get a report. So I think that's not really an amendment or anything, it's just a comment.
Are there any more questions around the table? I'd just like to say this is great. Anytime we can streamline a process, I'm all for it. So I'm going to call the questions. All those in favor of the motion? And that carries. Thanks very much, everyone. I'm going to pass it on now to Divisional Report Corporate Services. Councillor Morrison, take over as chair.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Armour. Acting Mayor Armour. We're going to move to item 8.3.1, and this is for information only. It's a procurement overview presentation. So we have Alicia Horn and Director McKenzie to come present this one.
Is the presentation in your file transfer folder? I think I can just do the slideshow, right? From the beginning? Will it come up? Nope.
Hello. Okay, so this is just a brief overview of the procurement bylaw and just some updates that have happened. Next slide. So the purpose of the town's procurement bylaw is to ensure fairness, objectivity, and transparency of the procurement process, obtain best value of goods and services, to incorporate sustainability into the procurement process where appropriate and feasible, to encourage competitive processes where possible and define circumstances where non-competitive procurements can be awarded, and to be accountable to the public, council, and vendors. The approval authorities listed in this table outline the individuals that have authority to award and execute and/or delegate authority to staff for the indicated monetary thresholds. It should also be noted that the authority to approve any budget variances or deviations is outlined in the Budget and Financial Controls Policy. So this table outlines the monetary thresholds and the corresponding procurement methods available to staff. So for example, any procurements with a value over $75,001 must utilize an open competitive procurement process. Okay, so open competitive procurement methods that the town utilizes are requests for proposals, or RFPs, requests for tenders, RFTs, and requests for quotations, RFQs. So RFPs the detailed specifications are not clearly identified, and the price is not the primary evaluation factor. So for RFPs, we're looking for the vendor to propose a solution to our problem.
Submissions are evaluated based off of specific criteria outlined in the RFP and given a score by the evaluation committee. An award is then made to the highest scoring compliant bidder, which may not be the lowest price. So we would use an RFP for consulting services, software design, and things of that nature. For requests for tenders, these include defined requirements where the evaluation is based predominantly on price, technical, and delivery requirements. So for an RFT, we already know what we want, but we have other factors that are important as well, like delivery times and things of that nature. The evaluation committee reviews the submissions and assigns a score to each submission based on the criteria identified in the RFT. An award is then made to the highest scoring compliant bidder. For an RFT, we would use this for bridge replacements, park and road construction, or large equipment purchases. For a request for quotation or an RFQ, this method of procurement has a fully defined requirement. So we know exactly what we're looking for, and price is the sole evaluation criteria. If there is no evaluation committee for this method of procurement, submissions are reviewed by the department for compliance, and an award is made to the lowest compliant bidder, meeting all technical specifications. So examples of this would be line painting, street sweeping, snow clearing, and landscaping. In addition to RFPs, RFTs, and RFQs, the town uses other procurement methods such as vendor of record arrangements, or VORs. This is a competitive procurement method that creates a short list or a roster list of vendors. The vendors are used on an as-needed basis where there are no quantities or guarantees of work. The VOR could be evaluated based off of specific criteria, like an RFP or an RFT, or we could just be requesting pricing, like an RFQ. So examples of this would be real estate services, electrical, mechanical services, legal, consulting, and these agreements are very useful when something unexpected arises and we need a quick pricing or vendor availability. There's also cooperative procurement. This is a competitive method that utilizes group purchasing organizations, or GPOs, such as LAS, Canoe, Kinetic, or OECM. There's also Ontario Government Vendor of Record, also known as Doing Business Ontario. We can combine purchases with area municipalities. There's the Muskoka Parry Sound Public Purchasing Group, and we can also utilize piggyback clauses in other municipalities' bid documents. So last year, departments used competitive or cooperative procurement methods to purchase a wide range of items such as the fire tanker, commercial ranges for our community centers, and office supplies. Non-competitive procurement methods that the town utilizes are sole sourcing. This is where there's only one available known supplier. This could be due to a monopoly on the market, or the goods and services is unique to that one supplier and there's no reasonable alternative or substitute that exists. When the town utilizes sole sourcing, if the value of the contract is over $25,000, staff need to complete the single sourcing justification form. Examples of sole sourcing would be utilities, IT software licenses, and things of that nature. There's also single sourcing. This is where only one source is selected for a valid and sufficient reason, even though other sources exist. This could be due to no compliant bidders on a competitive procurement process. The nature of the procurement could be confidential. There's an unforeseen situation of great urgency, or where open tendering could interfere with maintaining security. Similar to sole sourcing, this method is used and the value of the contract is over $25,000. Staff need to complete the single sourcing justification form. Non-competitive procurement methods are not to be used to avoid competition or discriminate against suppliers. All parties involved in the procurement process need to be aware of potential actual or perceived conflicts of interest. If actual, perceived, or potential conflicts of interest are identified, it has to be declared. For example, staff cannot have a financial interest in any contract with the town, since this would be a conflict of interest. The monetary thresholds for procurement are based off of the whole value of the contract, so purchases cannot be split into segments to circumvent this policy. So if you're signing a contract that's $10,000 a year for 10 years, the value of that contract is $100,000, not $10,000. To be aligned with trade agreements, procurements cannot discriminate based off of geographic region, so we can't award more points to local vendors. The Service Excellence team needs to be consulted on all software and website related purchases. This happens before the procurement process begins. And not all goods and services are subject to the procurement bylaw. These are all detailed on pages 5 and 6 of the bylaw. So to ensure a high standard of integrity, the procurement of goods and services must be free from political influence. Any elected officials, appointed officers, board members, or employees should not create any situations that will interfere with the fair and transparent procurement process. So this means that council members cannot participate in evaluation committees, they cannot communicate with bidders, they cannot review procurement documents, and they cannot review bid submissions. The only exception to this rule, which is outlined in the bylaw, is the appointment of the town's external auditors. Now, there are scenarios where council approval may be required. This would be contracts that need approval through the Ontario Municipal Board, contracts prescribed by statute to be made by council, where a recommendation is being made to increase the total budget of a contract above the thresholds outlined in the bylaw. This would be $100,000 for road projects and $50,000 for other projects. Where the net revenues are lower than the approved budget, where an expenditure for a legitimate objective is more than $500,000. A legitimate objective would be for public security and safety, public order, protection of human and animal plant life, protection of the environment, consumer protection, protection of the health and safety and well-being of workers, or affirmative action programs for disadvantaged groups. Council approval might also be required where there's a bid protest that's been filed before the contract's been awarded, where there's an irregularity in a bid submission, where an advance payment or deposit for more than $5,000 has been requested, or where the authority to approve a contract has not been expressly delegated. So as a municipality, mitigating and managing our various risk exposures is very important. When the town does business with a third party, we need to transfer that risk through the use of well-written contracts. These need to include detailed descriptions of each party's responsibilities, warranties and guarantees of work, properly worded indemnification clauses that holds the town and its employees and officers harmless, termination clauses that allow the town to cancel the contract that's not to our satisfaction, insurance clauses that request appropriate coverages that meet the exposures of the specific project. It's important that any vendor that the town hires has proper limits and coverages in place in the event of a loss. It's important that staff also follow through on these clauses written into the contract, which would include collecting a certificate of insurance prior to the commencement of work to ensure that the proper limits and coverages are in place, ensuring that the corporation of the town of Huntsville has been added as an additional insured to any liability policies, and if the contract includes a request for bonds or contract securities, that those securities were received prior to the project commencing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alicia. That's a lot of very important information for the public and for us around this table, and a very good report. Any questions for Alicia on that report? Well, it was so well done, we don't even have questions. How about that? So, all right, well, thank you so much for that. And with that, we'll move on to 8.3.2, which is Corp 2024-4, 2022 Financial Indicator Review. For information only, Director McKenzie.
So this report is an annual report that we bring forward and is based on the 2022 financial information return. And this year we only have one indicator that's above low, and last year we had, or the year before we had two. So the one that is above low is the closing amortization balance as a percentage of total cost of capital assets. And the reason that this ratio is unfavorable is that the amount of amortization, so this is how much we've consumed of each asset, is increasing at a greater rate than we're increasing new capital. So I think we're all aware of that, but that is our one ratio that is above low.
Okay. Any questions on the financial indicator review? All right. I think it's important to point out here that because we have such a solid financial team, these are the kind of checks and balances that we have for the taxpayer dollars. And there are also checks and balances to make sure that 4, 8, 10, 12 years down the road, we're in the best position possible. So thank you, Director McKenzie, for that. And with that, I will pass this on to Deputy Mayor Armour to take over as chair.
Thanks, Chair Morrison. I think we've been at this for an hour and a half now, so maybe it's time for a mild break. Welcome back, everyone. We're going to take a few minutes here. We're going to suspend the rules. So we have a couple of things under new business for the Rotary Club that we're going to address. So I do have a motion by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Cloutier. It's recommended that committee suspend the rules for procedure related to a notice for the purpose of discussion of the consideration of the motion on the Rotary Garden proposed benches on Ferry Vista Trail. And further that the rules of procedure be reinstalled after the agenda has been completed. All those in favor? And that motion carries. Forgot my glasses. So does anybody like to open up discussion on this? Not seeing any. Oh,
Just go for it.
okay.
Go.
Councillor Schumacher says
Yeah.
go for it.
Just go for it.
Mhm. Do we have a motion?
Yes, Jen.
So we do have a motion prepared, and Jessica's going to bring it up. And there it is, everyone. So moved by Councillor Fitzgerald, seconded by Councillor Clark. Whereas on January 31st, 2024, committee received a deputation from Rotary Club of Huntsville regarding the installation and maintenance of a 45 by 60 approximately garden containing natural vegetation to the right of the pavilion at Avery Park or Avery Beach. And now therefore it is recommended that committee approve the installation and maintenance of the 45 by 60 foot in the approximately a garden at Avery Beach. Direct staff to work with the Rotary Club of Huntsville on the placement, installation, and maintenance of the garden, satisfaction to the Director of Operations, and further that any required documentation be signed by the mayor and clerk. Do we have any questions on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. And that carries. And we do have a second motion. And this is moved by Councillor Renwick, seconded by Councillor Schumacher. Whereas on January 31st, 2024, committee received a deputation from Rotary Club of Huntsville regarding the donation of 8 benches for installation along the Ferry Vista Trail. Now, therefore, it is recommended that committee approve the donation of 8 benches along Ferry Vista Trail and direct staff to work with the Rotary Club of Huntsville on the placement, installation, and maintenance of the benches to the satisfaction of the Director of Operations. And therefore that any required documentation be signed by the mayor and the clerk. Do we have any questions for that? And that motion carries. Perfect. Oh, call the question. Number 3. Call the question. Oh, and that motion carries. Thanks, everyone. I know, just moving right along here. Okay, everyone, we're going to close now. So I do have a motion. Moved by Councillor Morrison, seconded by Councillor Cloutier. It's recommended that the next portion of the meeting be closed to the public commencing now at 10:46 for the purpose of considering the following matter pertaining to the following sections under Municipal Act 2001. Section 239(2)(b). Personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. E, legitimate or potential legitimate, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality of local board. F, advice that subject to the solicitor or client privilege, including communications necessary for the purpose. And 10.1.1 confidential report, DEV 2023-14, bylaw enforcement matter. Are there any questions? So I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay. And we're back. Okay, arising from close. I have a motion moved by Councillor Clark and seconded by Councillor Schumacher. It's recommended that recommendation contained in confidential report DEV 2024-14- bylaw enforcement matter be adopted. Questions? And let's, all in favor? And that carries. Okay. And now we're going to move back to general information. And we have a little bit of good news and probably some sad news for a lot of people. 9.1, retirement of Lisa Smith, Manager of Human Resources. And I'm going to turn it over to the CEO, Corey, and she's going to say some words.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So first I would like to ask if Lisa would kindly come up to the front if you're comfortable with that. I'm going to put you right on the spot. So just a little bit of history about Lisa that some of you may not know. Lisa has been a dedicated municipal leader for over 36 years. She clearly started when she was 10, but, and so Lisa started her career in Lake of Bays in 1988, and then she continued on with the town of Huntsville for the past 28 years. So fun fact, I'm not so sure if any of you really know this, but Lisa was the first full-time HR person for the town of Huntsville. We had a previous position that was kind of a joint, but Lisa's really the first full-time HR person that we had in the town of Huntsville. And over Lisa's 28 years with us, she has certainly been instrumental in the success of our organization. She has been very committed to making sure that the human capital of the organization over her time here has been a full focus, as she has been committed to serve many councils in the past. So Lisa is looking forward to entering the next phase of her life. She has lots of great things on the horizon, and I'm really hoping that that Lisa will keep in touch and not forget where we are. On behalf of staff, I do want to say thank you. It's not an easy job to be in HR, and Lisa has taken care of many, many, many people over her 28 years with the town of Huntsville. And because of that, I do think that we are a very strong, healthy organization, and a lot of that is attributed to your commitment to us. So Lisa, I know personally I am going to miss you very, very, very much. Lisa is always the voice of reason. Typically myself will have this great, brilliant idea, and then Lisa brings me back down and reminds me that that's probably, we need to amend it a little bit. And she's been extremely supportive of the senior leadership team. So your absence will be truly recognized, and we will miss you. I know you're leaving us in very great hands. Keith, I'm not so sure if he knows what he's gotten himself into, but I know that he has also had great leadership from you over the many years. So we wish you all the very best, and it's not goodbye, it's just wishing you all the best in your next adventure, and thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you.
And I'd like to echo all of that. I don't know if I can say it any better than that, but I know for the last 9 years I've had the opportunity to work alongside you. You brought many reports to this council table, and great reports to this council table, and directed us in the right direction. So on behalf of council and her worship, who's not here today, we wish you all the best, and we'll see you later. We would love to hear from you, but we have to use that new mic, and I think it's your first opportunity and your last opportunity.
Yeah. Firstly, thank you so much. It's been a privilege to work for the town of Huntsville. We've been through a lot of ups and a lot of downs too. So, but through and through, we have an awesome workforce. You know, I can't say it any more strongly, I guess. And we've seen a lot of change. there has been certainly a turnover of our longstanding employees. There used to be a time when you looked at our employee list and, you know, we have 20-year, 25-year, we had a 40-year municipal employee. And things have changed. People have come and gone, and you know, today our workforce is certainly a much younger workforce, which is good. You know, the tenure may not be, you know, as long going forward, but we do have an amazing workforce, and we're very resilient. We're a very resilient workforce. And one of the things that I'm most proud of is, you know, Huntsville is very much more progressive. That's something that I take pride in, working for the town. And we've done a lot of great things. You know, we've certainly introduced a lot of really great policies together. We've been through a lot of things. So I just want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart. And I'll certainly miss everyone. But this is certainly not goodbye. It's just see you later. So thank you so much for your kind words, and thank you for the flowers.
Thank you. And before you leave, I'd like to know if anybody else from council would like to give her wishes, or just say, see you later. Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Armour, and congratulations, Lisa. I just wanted to say quickly that it's hard to believe how many years and how many councils and different mayors your time has spanned here, including my dad's time as mayor here. And I mentioned to Dad that you were retiring, and he said that he couldn't believe you were still here.
There were certainly days that that came across my mind. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Lisa.
If I may, I've known Lisa for a long time, and actually when I first met Lisa, it was because our sons both went to the same school together. And I didn't know that Lisa at that point worked for the town, but then I quickly found out that she did. And you have been just a rock solid HR person. And any questions that I've ever had in my time at the BIA or the chamber, you've always been able to answer them. So, and I think Lisa has probably hired most of the people that are in well, she has. So thank you for leaving a legacy that's very worthy. And you've been yeah, it's great.
Very good. Thanks again. So with that, I have a motion for adjournment. I have moved by Councillor Fitzgerald, seconded by Councillor Renwick. It is recommended that we do now adjourn at 11:18. All those in favor? And that carries.